Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vivid Earth. Today, I've got two of my favorite people on, AJ Roberts from the UK and Farrah Weir from Cape Town, two incredibly talented and gifted intuitives and spiritual warriors who do incredible work on the planet. And we're just going to have a beautiful, organic conversation about current events, current energies, spiritual attacks, and all of these things that we feel is very relevant right now. And we're just going to have a conversation chatting about it. I did have AJ on my show before, ex-soldier from Afghanistan, and found really his path in recent years, and just such a beautiful, connected, intuitive soul that does incredible work right now. And he's got the AJ Roberts show on Rumble, and he does incredible work around the world, connecting with like-minded people. Farrah is a very gifted, intuitive. I mean, you're so many things. It's so difficult to sum both of you up into one little sentence. But as I said, you're one of my favorite people within this community, very authentic, very real, and with a pure-heartedness and authenticity that shines beyond what we can see on the screen. So welcome both. AJ, do you want to go first? How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's been a lot's happened in the last few weeks, I guess, since I was on your show. For all of us, and there's a lot happening worldwide, which obviously we could get into. So we're kind of keeping like tabs on that at the same time, driving around the UK, doing lots of live talks and running courses and getting loads of podcasts out there, which has been, really, really great. And as a result of, ongoings, I've come into contact with some of the most amazing people, I call dear friends, and it's just, it's been a great, interesting ride. Lots of lessons learned.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Farrah, how about you? So good to have you back.
Hey, gorgeous lady. So thank you for the beautiful introduction, Anina. And AJ, you and I connected already, so it's lovely to connect with you again. Get on very, very well, I believe, from a couple of conversations we've had. Just also from my side, Anina, you're amazing, doing amazing work, very pure, just really wanting to bring in this, usher in this new era and new age and new consciousness, and the same thing for AJ. I did say to AJ that I felt we had a similar monad soul structure, very similar energetic with certain things. And it's always amazing to meet these beautiful souls, because we are all kind of remembering each other more than we are getting to know each other, because we've been doing this before. We've done this on many planetary systems and through all of our galactic history. And so it's like forces unite once more.
Yeah, it's like a remembrance. I'm sure we all met in another life, and we all agreed to come here together and connect at a certain point. We were going to reconnect with each other. That's why there's always like a familiarity. It's like, the person, right? It's wonderful.
Yeah. That's and also everyone. So what's really cool about that, actually, that subject is that activates specific keys and codes within the DNA when we meet certain people, especially when we've had lifetimes together, or we come from the same soul monad group, or we've been on other galaxies and universes, and there's obviously been lots of galactic wars. So that memory gets sparked back online. So the more we connect and beat and reach people, the more everyone can have their own individual remembrance and awakening to the multifaceted and multidimensional aspects of themselves.
Yeah. Actually, Farrah, you were just explaining before we started recording as well, before AJ jumped on, that it's a fractal of us that is actually here in this. Was it you? I can't even remember. It's all kind of floating and connecting with oneself. Sorry, I'm just holding my selenite palm stone, but it's like there's a fractal of us here, but actually our higher self and the soul is somewhere else as well. So it's like we sent this little messenger avatar down here to carry out a specific mission, but we're so much bigger than this particular character, personality, soul fractal that's here in the present now in this body. It's like there's a much bigger picture behind that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to hog all the talking. AJ, do you want to speak on that? Because I get so excited about these topics that I'm like, well, actually, it's your higher self, it's your future self. There's no linear time. And then I go into all of these conversations. So I'm going to let AJ chat on that.
Yeah, the way I see it, and the way it feels right to me, is that like we are a representation, a holographic electromagnetic being having a 3D experience. So like everything we see through our physical eyes is like obviously all the lessons and everything that's then makes up the construct of our planet, our Earth. You know, so you know you've got all these people that argue between like round Earth, flat Earth, all this kind of stuff, right? When in fact, it's the way I see it is that because we're multidimensional, we construct the image of our Earth through our heart space and everything, you know, toroidal field. So I think like that's what we're experiencing. Everything's a toroidal field, everything's consciousness, right? And we come here to have that experience and carry out certain missions. Like I've got a certain mission, Farrah's got a certain mission, Nina's got a mission, everyone watching's got certain missions. And that our soul is very much on a ship, wherever that may be. And what we're presenting with now, what we're looking at right now, is the avatar of that, and that lives and grows on this in this 3D matrix, like having this experience. That's the way I see it and feel it.
Yeah, that resonates.
Very cool. Very cool.
Just a question. So maybe this one is for Farrah. Sorry, just a quick question. So often, what you might perceive as a guide is that could that be your higher self actually guiding you, but you think it's a guide, but it's actually your higher self, right?
Yeah, so from how I'm showing it, and this is what's so cool about people getting together that download their information. We have a different language essentially saying the same thing. So language is, and it's giving imagery to something, right? That we're all interpreting because we have a unique interpretation when it comes to that imagery. And that's why some people resonate with some and not with others. So the way I would explain that is that your whole soul needs to be anchored into your body. It becomes layered. So you can have fragmentation of your soul, whereas where aspects of yourself choose to just leave, or through trauma leave, or get ripped out of the body and exist on a higher timeline, but it's neither here nor there. And you need to recall those fragments of your soul so that it's grounded into your body. Obviously, if you cannot, if your whole soul left your body, you die. But I would say the aspects of ourselves, which are the past aspects, the past life aspects, and then the future, because time outside of Earth is stacked like this, it's all running concurrently. That's why timelines are always running at the same time. That's why we can go back into timelines and we can shift things because it's like on a loop. But I would say that, yeah, so your guides are your future version. So a lot of us chose in the future to come back. A lot of us have already done an ascension journey, but we said, okay, we heard the call for Earth, because I keep saying that we're here for Gaia more than we are here for humanity. And so we heard the call for Earth because she wanted to go and restore back to her original 5D template, which is with the crystalline grid system over her. So we came back, but we are being guided through future versions of ourselves, which is an aspect of us, but I wouldn't say it's our soul outside of our body. But I mean, that's just the way I would explain it. But I love that. In essence,
would you say that like that future self is literally like holding the joypad in essence of the simulation, and we are that the character kind of being guided like in that kind of manner? If you were to put it into an analogy that people would, well, youngsters would understand.
I love that, but no, I wouldn't say that, because I would say that, so there is free will and there isn't free will. It's both. It's yes and no, and often the answers are yes and no. But any positive being or guide would never, unless you give permission. So they guide through synchronicity, through symbols, we have predetermined people we bump into and experiences that happen. But how they play out is really interesting, because, for example, and this, I'm trying to find an easy way to explain it. Say you've got timeline 1, 2, and 3. These are the most probables. But under this one, this is the timeline where you end up with Bob. This is the timeline where you end up with nobody. And this is the timeline where you, I don't know, do something else. So under ending up with Bob, you've got multiple timelines of where you can get to meet Bob. But if you're looking at timelines and you say this is an 80% probability you're going to end up with Bob, and you've got a 70% probability that you're going to end up with nobody, and how you get there. So it's about the singularity points, like the singularity point, which would make this timeline, which is all playing out in a quantum field. So it's all actually happening. That's where we talk about assets, fragments of ourselves. But our decisions, so I actually write about this in the book I'm writing. AJ, I don't think I told you, I'm writing a book called Infinite Intelligence Through the Looking Glass. So our soul, so like you can wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go to get a coffee from Starbucks, right? And you can be determined. So you're looking that way. You're on your way and you're walking to go get a coffee from Starbucks. And then you bump into someone and you have a 2-minute conversation and you see, actually, last minute you decide, I'm going to go to the coffee shop next door. So the reason why a lot of psychics and stuff, even if they're working with their higher selves, because I had that question. So if my future self should know exactly how my timeline is going to play out, we're not supposed to know. So your future self's not supposed to tell you because it defeats the point. But because it's like an infinite quantum computer, it can hypothesize up to a point. But because of the anomaly factor of human beings shifting choice points so quickly, it's very hard to pinpoint. So your future guide, sorry, coming back to that, this was a bit off topic. Your future versions of yourself are not there to control the simulation. They're here to help guide us in a separate but not separate way. So that actually exists within our DNA when we tap into it. And the holographic reality that's overlaid, so it's always shifting. So it's through our heart coherence. We spark plasma light through geometry and sound out of the heart. It builds up coherence, and that's the hologram. But also everything else brings physicality through its consciousness. So Gaia has a consciousness that brings physicality to the actual matter on the earth, and water has a consciousness, and trees have a consciousness. So it's all these consciousnesses merging. And that's why I teach a lot about just working on really creating your holographic reality through your heart coherence, thoughts, emotions, and actions.
And that would explain then, because of that, because that toroidal field we create through our heart space, that create, and everything basically creates that to those toroidal field. That's exactly what Gaia produces, isn't it? That toroidal field.
Exactly, yes. And also coming back to what you said about, is the earth flat or round? I had an interview with Mark Atwood in 2021, and I said, it appears to you as either round, flat, or spherical, depending on the state of consciousness in which you're viewing it. So it shifts and changes, like you're saying. It's very interesting.
It's a construct of like bandwidth of information that you kind of build, don't you, during your life, I guess. But everything's a construct of your reality, isn't it? So you're never gonna walk every inch of the earth to say and map it out and say, yeah, it is this shape. But because it's not necessarily objective, is it? It's literally, it's what you perceive through the heart space. It's your projection, isn't it? The earth is you, and heart is an anagram of earth, isn't it? And the heart chakra is green, the earth's green, and that's when you look up, you look up to the blue sky. Obviously the throat chakra is blue. It's kind of like, to me, that's how a lot of this works, through the electromagnetic spectrum of red to ultraviolet. That's what we see, isn't it? So and that's what makes up all our colors and everything that's around us. That's how I kind of see it. And that's where the term human comes from, because hue is the saturation of light, isn't it, from red to ultraviolet, and the man is the manifestation. So it's what we see and what we manifest that makes us human.
Beautiful.
That's kind of like my deeper understanding of what we're about, which is pretty cool than just saying I'm just some meat suit that goes to work.
Absolutely. And there's so many. It was so funny. Have any of you guys watched the series Outlander, where she goes back in time?
No.
Is it on Netflix?
It's beautiful. It's about a woman who travels through stones, goes back in time. Beautiful love affair for all the girls who are watching, if you want to watch a love affair series. But it's really interesting because she goes back in time, but then as I'm watching it, I'm getting downloads because I'm like, so she's changing time, but we also, in a sense, back in time, changing time, because it's all it's all one. It's not it's not separated. It's only through gravitational pull. So I'm not going to get into that. So that's a whole other thing around how Gaia actually got pulled down into the third density, the infiltration that happened on the inside. And that's got to do with the Luciferic AI consciousness and black box programming and all of that stuff, and the matrix hijack we have on our planet, which is the inversion of the natural. But when we transcend up and out of that, so it can only keep us held hostage to it when we're unaware of it. When we transcend up and out of that, we have access to no time, no space, all facets of ourselves, all memory, and with that trauma, because we have that trauma sitting in our body, but also all the gifts. So you've been all these, I mean, I've seen it, we've been all these amazing galactic beings, we've been on all these planetary systems. That's why I don't get really caught up in I come from Andromeda, or like one of my guides is Cassiopeia, or I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but Spirit showed me I've been to all of them, Palladian, Sirian, Lyran, and most of us have been in all of these planetary systems, and there's gifts there and memory there and wisdom there to access within yourself, which I find very exciting.
What's really interesting as well is that you mentioned earlier about like timelines and percentages of probabilities. Like if anybody's got the capabilities to do so, watch the new version of Quantum Leap, the series. So I'm watching it at the minute, and it's all about, like, obviously the original character, Dr. Ben, like they regen the program, and he basically goes into different characters all the time. Like, well, it'll leap, and then the next thing he's an astronaut, but he like doesn't know what he's doing, and stuff like that. And he's got to have his like sidekick with him. He's a hologram, and keeps saying, this has got an 87% chance of working if we do this, this, and this. And so it's almost like his higher self, or a version of his higher self, like guiding him through every leap, and every episode is like a different leap. It's you'll see it all. It basically shows you what we're about. It's really cool.
That's cool. Makes me think of that movie as well, Everywhere, Everything, All at Once. It also shows these different timelines and different scenarios play out. It's a little bit rudimentary in the way that the story is told, but it does make you understand all these possibilities and all these different timelines and characters playing out, and how you can actually access any of those as well. You know, if you need to access martial arts skills because you need to protect yourself, you can actually tap into another reality where you were a martial art expert, for example.
It's like the white room in the Matrix when they like download the file.
Yes.
Or like everything comes in and you just suddenly sorted. But as you're talking, something just like, so one of the things I also think is really important to explain to people is we have to bridge. This is about bridging what we're in now, and this is why this life, being here at this time is so crucial, because we're in such a physical form. We are going to have emotions and experiences and pain and such duality and polarity play out. We can't be living up here always in the galactic outside of time and space. We have to be actually really centered in our now moment. So it's a beautiful dance or amalgamation or mastery or whatever you want to call it, of being so centered and grounded in your physical body, because we have to do that to move through what we're moving through, while accessing all of these versions of ourselves, you know, and all of these gifts within ourselves, and releasing all the trauma. And the more we go through that, the more layers are brought up. But like one of the things I teach is being really surrendered in the now moment, and letting go of the need to control. Like, you know, if you're worried about your finances, or you're worried about your relationship, or whatever it is, not being pulled into future or past through worry, stress, anxiety, shame, guilt, trusting in now, and understanding that's actually all we really have. Well,
Farrah, you're freezing.
Oh, five eyes didn't like what she was saying.
I thought it was me, but it's clearly Farrah. I'm just going to pause quickly while we clear this. Okay, we had a little disruption. As we said, some dark forces don't want us to go into certain subjects, but we keep going because you know, the truth's got to get out, and nothing can stop what's coming. So we'll continue. Farrah, you were busy explaining. I don't know if you remember exactly where you left off.
No, I can't remember. So many thoughts going through. I think, yeah, maybe AJ wants to. I feel like I'm talking quite a lot, so I'd like to make sure you have a chance to chat, AJ.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about like the whole, well, we were talking about Earth and realities and or even dark forces, all this kind of stuff. I think we're at a stage now where majority of people are asking questions about what's going on. You know, they're seeing so much of the darkness and deception and everything being presented to them, you know, via the media, via governments, via celebrities. You know, they're all showing their true colors, like in massive ways, and people can't hide from that now. It's almost it's there for them. I mean, the whole pandemic was for us. People are now starting to kind of see that a little bit as well. You know, those in our families and friendship circles that are very much blindsided to it, and that, you know, mostly asking questions or just kind of like, you know, realizing, you know what, I think our government and the media might be colluding with each other on certain things. They're starting to have things like they're starting to have these conversations, but also, you know, the noticeable thing that can't be hidden is, you know, the sheer amount of excess deaths and serious illnesses and turbo cancers and stuff like that. I mean, my family's been hit ridiculously. Like, I haven't actually met anybody who's had so many injuries and deaths in their families as what I've had in mine, and that's nothing. That's nothing I want to shout about. I've not shouted about on purpose because of that reason. I don't want people who thought they were doing the right thing at the time, you know, go down into like negative, low levels of emotion, stay in fear, and start manifesting illnesses. That's why I don't talk about the subject anymore. I don't feel I need to. And I look at everything from a soul level. You know, that I believe that people have died, you know, often as part of service to awaken everyone else around them. You know, as we go into this transition, that's kind of like what I'm seeing. But at the same time, I think a lot more people have been realistic and honest with themselves and just going like, do you know what, maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. And that instant bit of sort of self-willingness and courage literally just casts it away. Like, I just see it. I see it in so many people, and everyone who's coming to my talks now and doing my courses and stuff that have had the inoculations have gone through that process, like every single one of them, and they say it's like liberating. It's just like, but it's not. You see how much of a dark program it is. It's not a pharmaceutical in essence. It's a dark program that like makes people feel a certain way, you know, and act a certain way, and we're seeing it everywhere. But when people release that, they're like completely different people. And then, you know, on my online community, the biggest activists in there are people that had the shots. You know what I mean? They're at every protest. They're at like, you know, they're every board, banners on bridges, doing podcasts, like everything, you know. And it's it just goes to show how powerful it is the other way, but it also shows you how powerful it is to keep people in the, you know, in that little shell, and they don't want to come out because they feel, because of the shame, guilt, fear, like all those low level states of consciousness, you know. And I think what we're seeing now is people are slowly releasing that, and I think people like myself and others like me out there that are helping people with all of this, you know, they're seeing these big trends, and I think people are realizing there's actually nothing but like pure love and unity out there for everybody. That's what they want to tap into, you know. That's what they're like, wow, this is what I want to be a part of, you know, because we all have this like human herd mentality, don't we? We always want to be a part of something, and that's again what that program was all about, wasn't it? Like making people being and feeling in one group and compartmentalizing everyone, and then compartmentalizing in a divisional group. You know, which is what we've seen. But now, you know, it's about using those same human traits for the good, and people are now understanding, wow, do you know what? Like this group's awesome. This community is amazing. You know, all these stand in the parks that are like formed in the UK that are, you know, still going strong, and other places around the world, and that, you know, that started during lockdowns, which again just goes to show you that all the lockdowns and everything was designed to make people want to connect and understand the importance of disconnection and the wider communities, the wider family households. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of good things happening around that now, and I think this whole incident in or this saga, let's call it, in Israel, Gaza, is, you know, opening people's eyes to like how much of an evil beast the actual West actually is, and has been like for our entire lifetimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Farrah, you also shared something valuable before we started recording about the conflict and, you know, about people being pitted against one another. So you're kind of forced to pick a side, right? Otherwise, and how this is emotionally kind of used against us to polarize. And again, that battle that actually happens inside, we see playing out externally. Maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I do want to talk about what's happening in Israel and in Gaza, because I actually sent out an email to my membership, and I haven't really spoken too much. I made a little video on Instagram, but I always like to channel and see what's happening, you know, what's going on. And I did put out, so in August this year, I was quite clear with, I don't have a big following, but with the little bits of people that do follow me, I put out saying that Spirit was speaking to me about in August the seed point for something very big happening in September, from September, October, November. So the September was the seed point. I didn't know if it was going to play out in September or October or November, but it was a big shift, and it was like we were doing 2020 2.0. So we were going to go through some tough times, and that was why I did a lot of trying to explain to people about this Armageddon timeline or this end times timeline versus your heaven on earth bliss timeline. And I speak a lot about what new earth means and how we get there. We're going to be seeing these two timelines. So you could be literally in heaven on earth timeline, and your next door neighbor is having a completely different experience, and it's becoming more and more and more physical, that experience and play out. So with that being said, obviously when it happened, this whole thing that's happened in the Middle East, I was checking in to see, is this what I was being shown? Because I wasn't being shown exactly how it would come through. So yeah, anyway, I wanted to know what's really happening. Like, we all know there's usually an agenda. We know there's a dark structure. People call it the Illuminati, Cabal, whatever. I don't know what words we can use on YouTube, but of course there's layers to that and tiers to that. So the basic is that you divide people. So this is where the dark is very clever. Since the beginning of time, they had looking glass technology. They understand. They've got lots of technology to pull from the ether and all kinds of things to create timelines, pull things into the physical. But you create systems that separate people. So you create race, religion, or invert or hijack religion, institutions, medical corporations, all of that stuff. And then you use people against each other. And that's exactly what we were talking about, Anina, is that if anyone is standing on one side of the fence, like I'm with Israel, I'm with Palestine or whatever, this is a war. This war represents the war within ourselves and the separation within ourselves. And it's so triggering because it's obviously an energetic that's been going on for a very long time. And now obviously the dark know they know when to press the trigger. So when I first tapped into what's happening in Israel, the message I got was that this is actually about America. So they're using the throat chakra of the planet, which is where Israel is, which obviously represents truth. There's been a creation of angst and there's been actually a lot of terrible things happening there for a long time that we just haven't known about, that the news hasn't been reporting on. And from what I've been shown, also what's been done to people in Palestine has been terrible. And I know some people might get angry with me about that because everyone's being painted or shown a different story through the media. Both sides. It's the unconscious wounded men and women through their bloodlines and through this time wounding that are just the puppets being used for a dark structure that has an agenda. So I was interested in what was the actual agenda of why this is happening now and why it's playing out. And what I was shown was it's actually about America. So America obviously sent a lot of money and resources and military to, or I don't know about military, but resources and what's the word I'm looking for? Weaponry. Hey AJ, weaponry to Ukraine, and that was a way of like draining America's resources. And then this will be the same. We'll see the same going into Israel. And what I got around that was actually there is a plan for an attack within America. And I don't say this to incite fear, because I truly believe if you are connecting with your higher self and you're on a soul mission, you will always be guided and protected through whatever we're experiencing. So whether
but you're not the only one that's seen this, by the way. So it's been.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Good to know. So as I said, I the only person I have really listened to a little bit of is Magenta Pixie. I was telling AJ she's like my favorite channel, but other than that, I don't really listen to too many other people.
But there's lots of things indicating that something's going down. Not just
something's
channels, but physical evidence.
Yeah. Oh, is that okay? So it's really about, and then I don't know how they'll attack America from within. It might be another sort of Marburg type virus or something, but
who knows?
So they showed me America's like a person.
Do you think that's the purpose of all the mass migrants, all the fighting age males that have like flooded into over the border, like en masse, like
everything is about making America weak. Yes.
Yeah. So I think, well, again, you may agree or disagree. The same blueprints happening in every country. So here in UK, we've got like mass amounts of men daily coming in via dinghies, boats, all NGOs. They're all being put up in hotels, all funded, paid for, all funded. But they've been coming in for like the last year and a half, 2 years, and there's hotels in the northwest of England that have been actively like housing these people, and they've been going off to do some sort of training. So like with agencies that, you know, whether it's police or military, I don't know, but it's the same in Ireland, it's the same in Norway, and obviously Canada, America, Australia. Not sure about South Africa, but they've literally been flooding in like constantly. Italy's just been like bombarded with them. And it seems like the same blueprint. So do you think maybe there's part of this agenda is like that we would end up with all these fighting age males obviously acting as a militia, which would then invoke like military laws within our own countries, meaning our own militaries would have to stand and fight and take and create martial law and / that would be how they take down the governments, the military takeover. Do you see a potential sort of timeline like that?
I think absolutely. I think, well, I know that there's lots of timelines, so there's lots of potentials, but the dark have to be very careful how they do things, because for everything they do, there's a pushback, right? So it's like we said earlier with COVID, and I think I made a little video in 2020 saying, but the flip side of the coin to COVID is awakening, you know? So they set a lot of stuff up, and then I don't know if we're gonna have time to go into it today. Maybe we'll have to do another round table, because I know AJ, you have to go at some point. But I told you guys privately I had a dream about what the end timeline was for all of these things. So this is also why it's hard for a psychic or someone who's tapping into timelines to predict exactly how it's going to play out, because they'll have many potentials that they can work with, and they will last minute decide this. And there's infighting amongst the cabal as well. But you know, it was very interesting because obviously the fires that happened in Maui happened over the A-Date Lions Gates, and then again this Israeli thing happened around the eclipse time. So it's always trying to hijack a high vibrational time to lower the frequency. So this has got people, because it involves religion and politics and you know, Christian people, and feel strongly towards like Jewish people, and then there's so much. It's so cleverly designed to incorporate so many different types of people to have very strong feelings, and then they obviously have stuff that they put in the fake media to incite even more division, outrage, you know, babies being beheaded. As far as I saw, I don't follow news too much, but I saw that was not actually true. It had been debunked, but I mean, again, like, you tap in for yourself, and I'm just saying, like, come back to creating your holographic reality. Again, I said to Anina, you know, I asked Spirit, I was like, yeah, but what about, you know, it's easy to teach that, create your heaven on earth bliss timeline, but what happens if I was being bombed? And then Spirit said to me, what would you do if you were being bombed? And I was like, yeah, I would still follow my guidance team. I would be under extreme stress and pressure, and it would be, you know, I can only imagine how difficult it must be. But there are so many layers to this. There are so many layers to this. Certain souls coming to complete things for humanity, because this is literally representing the war and hate within ourselves, and with each man and woman is playing out between these two places on the planet, this holy land, this amazing throat chakra of our planet. And it's just so cleverly designed, because from one perspective it's meant to defund America, and so as I was saying, America is I saw it was shown as like a person. So you make the person weak by sending all of their energy and resources out, and you attack them from within. And then I don't know, AJ, if you have to go, because then maybe we can do a part 2 roundtable, and we can talk about the dream I had and that future timeline of what I saw the dark structure with doing.
You got a few more minutes?
No. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a dream on, what are we on? Tuesday. I think it was Sunday morning. And I was so I obviously got shown a timeline of, or not a timeline, I was shown what was playing out. I was witnessing it in the astral realm. So I was standing outside on the outskirts of this really massive field, and there were all of these groups of people with these fire drums in a big circle, but I'm talking huge field. So it also I knew when I woke up, it represented different dark structures around the world. So like dark wizards and stuff around the world. So the field represented the world, and there were like 2 or 3 people per like pod, and they were burning something, and what they were burning, I realized they were burning bones, was the smoke was making a skull structure, and they were all doing it at the same time. So this is obviously a coordinated event. I see the dark we're doing, and what I'm just thinking now, no, it's fine, I can say it, it's fine, I'm not afraid. So in the individual skulls of smoke all came together, and it created a big face, like a smoke face in the sky, but the sky represents like the dome over earth, right? The firmament. And that's what I viewed, but I was standing on the outside viewing, and when I woke up, I was like, whoa, Spirit, what did you just show me? And then obviously they downloaded the information to me, and that has to do with the technology they use to influence timelines. I'm not going to get into that. It has to do with ions and nanotechnology, and then physical ceremonies that happen on the ground, in the physical on Earth, as well as the reversion of through prisms and stuff. But I'm not going to get into it. The reason why I wanted to speak about it is because the main focus of all of the things that are playing out now and that are still to come into 2024 is about the ushering in the one world leader, the New World Order. So they will bring forward a world leader who will present all the solutions. But then Spirit did say to me, it'll be very similar to the Revelations biblical play out, but they're clever because it won't be exactly the same, so that even people who are aware of Revelations and, you know, the Armageddon end times,
the Antichrist storyline.
Yeah, the Antichrist storyline would be a bit like aware to it. So they have to do it very smartly. But it was interesting because I saw the face and I wasn't sure if it was a man or a woman because it had short hair, but it had like the person. Oh, I don't want to get into too many details about it.
Describe him, name him.
Yeah, just now I've like got someone knocking on my door. So what I thought was really interesting and what I really wanted to get out to people today was there is power in knowing the truth and knowledge. We don't want to get sucked into the separation. We don't want to get sucked into the and I've spoken about this. We have to keep our holographic fields really as heart coherent and blissful as possible while looking at the truth. Like, we can't look away from the horrendous things that are happening. We have to integrate that, and that's an incredibly masterful thing to be able to do, and not everyone can do it or is on the way to doing it. But we have to know, we can't stick our head in the sands around what's coming on. And I do feel like that information coming to me and getting it out in some way actually disables what they have done and what they're trying to do, because the consciousness is different. So the technology they work with and the tricks that they've been working with for so long don't hold the same weight or the ability to affect the collective timeline. So I see what they want to bring in.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say it might look like that to people, like this is it, we're going into a new world order, blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. You got to look through the illusion.
Yeah.
And remember, I was shown it as smoke in the sky. Smoke is an illusion. Smoke in the sky.
Smoke and mirrors, right?
Smoke and mirrors. So there's a lot of metaphors in this dream, I believe, that I haven't even decoded all properly, and it'll come over time. But that's what I was shown, and I'm always curious to know like why something's happening and the agendas behind it. So the more we can get that information out and can come into people's consciousness, the more it sort of disarms and disables it having the affected ones they wanted to have on humanity and the blindsidedness.
Absolutely,
anyway.
because it's happened a couple of times before that there were a dark prediction of the future. You look at people that were kind of decoding the whole looking glass possible futures. But I believe as soon as it's brought out into the light, as soon as we see their gig is up. And that's how we change the timeline. That's why it's so important not to hold any fear, because we have to understand how important we are in manifesting that potential future. We are part and parcel of that. Knowing what their plan is, bringing it out into the light and saying, we're not buying into that. We're going to create our own timeline. That's powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's very true. Sorry, AJ, you carry on.
I was just gonna elaborate and just say, like, a perfect example of that. Again, is another thing this like pandemic's done is as part of like the awakening is when they were bringing in mandates in certain countries, like here in like UK, like at the NHS, like there was hundreds of thousands turned up in London against it, and it was called NHS 100, and they had over like hundreds of thousands of people there. They were throwing their tunics at like 10 Downing Street and Trafalgar Square and stuff like that. So that the collective stood up to that dark force that they were trying to bring in, and then obviously they all got squashed and it never happened, never come to fruition. So that's just I think a very good physical example of exactly what you're talking about. The collective say no, or say that we know what you're doing, and I think that's getting bigger and bigger. And which is why you can just see week after week it's something different, a different distraction, a different dark project they're throwing on
think of it as right now. They're trying everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Let everybody look. I joked the other day, and I just said, like, why is no one asking me about Russell Brand? What's going to happen there? 1 minute he's like the unflavor of the week, and everyone's got an opinion on that, and then literally a week later, Israel Gaza kicks off. It's just it's again, people are starting to see through those illusions, and just like we're literally just being distracted like a mofo at the minute.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
What are they hiding?
Well, this is the thing. The dark are just trying to prevent, or not prevent. They're trying to delay so that when I speak about timelines like this, and this one has the singularity point, and then there's men under them that have every single timeline for Earth going into New Earth, every single timeline that exists, the singularity point is set at New Earth arrives. So they know that. They've looked at it. It's but how we get there, what road we go, in which timeline, and how long it takes, that it hasn't been. There's millions of timelines for that, right? So it's moves, counter moves. So like obviously the more our collective consciousness rises, the quicker we bring that in. And when people ask what can I do, I'm like, the best thing you can do is work on yourself. The best thing you can do is heal your wounding. The best thing you can do is unlock your DNA. Like look at your shit, man, like your ego, your all of these things that pull you into separation, and that is a journey of union into self. Look, we all on it. Like none of us are ascended masters. We wouldn't be here anymore. So it's fine. But that is the best thing, because we individually co-create together pulling New Earth in and pulling that timeline in. And that's why the dark, like you said, tries so hard to keep us distracted, tries so hard to keep us our vibrations super low, our triggers, so our woundings to come out. And that's also why so many starseeds and awakened people are having such a hard time, because we are being asked to transmute the shadow so quickly so we can hold more light. So it's like, how do we transmute the shadow? How do we grow? We grow through pressure, right? Like a diamond. So it's constant like pressure. So, okay, now I've got to look within. So to turn the lens inwards, It's not about that person. It's not about being a victim. It's not about X, Y, and Z. And so from one perspective, it looks like, oh my Lord, the poor starseeds are having a really hard ride. It's a bit of a
crunch time
shit
now.
show, but exactly. So I'm like, it actually makes me laugh, because, or not laugh, it makes me smile, because I'm like, it's the hardship is where all the gifts are. That's where all the goodness is, if you can work through and transmute it quickly, which is not playing in the stories, playing in the ego, playing in the victim. It's going, what are my woundings that are coming up here? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to address within myself? That is like the most powerful work we can do for the planet right now.
But
so that's
also,
how I'm sure.
We've got to remember that we're not just doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for our bloodlines, our ancestry. We're cleaning up all the muck that's stuck in the drainage pipes for all of our bloodlines as well. So, we
Totally.
should be so hard on ourselves. This is really hard, but we have been sent here and we've chosen to come here because we are strong souled. We can do this. We should never forget that.
Absolutely. Makes me so excited. Wear my glasses so I can be a little nerd.
Yeah, no, it's a very exciting time.
Anita, your glasses are very sexy, by the way. They're not nerdy. I just realized when I said that I wasn't making reference to your glasses. I was just making a joke.
It's okay, as long as I can block the blue light and spare my eyes a little bit of all the screens that we have been forced to face every day, I'm good.
You look trendy, very trendy.
Super cool. Can you believe this woman is she's turning 50?
What?
Turning 50?
I know, she's hot stuff. I said to her, I was like, I want to be like you when I grow up.
Oh, come on, Farrah. You met me in person. It's just Zoom making me look younger, right?
No, you're good. You're good, girl. You're good.
To be honest, there's quite a trend actually. Like if you look at in the community, like that we have with like Magenta Pixie and like Pam Gregory and people like that, they all look like so much younger than they are. You could just see all these when they have like little gatherings and little festivals and stuff. You just see all these high vibrational women who look literally like 10 years younger than what they say they are. You could see the difference what that does to you. Your lifestyle, how you live your life, and what you allow in your life. And Pam Gregory does a fantastic job of that. She's a master at like protecting her energy. I've seen it so many times in person. It's phenomenal. And she turned 70 this year, I think it was.
Wow.
And she does. Pam Gregory does not look 70.
She's amazing. I love her energy. I've seen one or two discussions with her and Magenta, and yeah, they're such awesome souls. As I said, there's a lot of, we didn't get onto it today. There's a lot of false light. There's a lot of people presenting as light. A lot of dark infiltration in the spiritual truth communities.
Yeah.
It's a lot of a discernment that people need to walk their own journey with, because that's inner job, inner alchemy. But because of that, I'm so careful about who I listen to, and I mean who I would ever allow to work on me. Obviously I do work on others, so I can do it on myself too, but those ladies are the OGs. And like Magenta specifically, when I first started my awakening, many years ago, was such a huge part of my journey. So the people who have been around forever, who have just consistently showed up for humanity and stood out, and I mean, just you can see the love vibration for humanity and for what they do, literally ebbing out of them. Just this care and the constant giving. They're very incredible people.
Yeah. No, they're good. Yeah, you're right. there's so much information out there. I think, you know, you just be swarming yourself by listening to too much. That's how people easily get confused. That's why there's so many sort of infiltrators and people like that. They do just what the media does. You know, they flood your brain with like nonsense information or fear-based information.
And it's also very sensational. So watch out for sensationalism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big one around, so it's like, this is definitely happening, or that is happening, or you know,
shocking warning. And if any video that starts with shocking warning, you kind of know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do see it. I mean, some people don't even know that they, you know, it's unconscious. And then there's some that's super consciously working with the dark structure that are like psyops that have been placed in there. But a lot, you know, that becomes, I talk about that in client sessions with one-on-one clients, it becomes really, really, really multi-layered, how we make contracts, how we get our energy sort of, you know, hijacked in the astral realm, past life contracts, and you know, just having a bad thought can set up energy to make a contract and you know, cause havoc.
Yeah, it creates like a little crack. All it needs is a little crack where it can seep in. So we've got to be very, very careful and very mindful. You know, we spoke about that as well. But you've got to really protect your vibration, because you just buy into one negative story or emotion, and there's a little crack that allows that little bit of darkness in. So you've got to be very mindful. And, you know, I was going to say, what kind of warning do you want to give people on how to spot the false light? Because we spoke about some infiltration is conscious, others is unconscious. So some light workers get infiltrated without even knowing it, and others consciously obviously buy into that dark narrative. But, you know, as you said as well, everyone is here on their own path to learn their own lessons, and sometimes they've got to learn that discernment for themselves. So they're meant to go through that experience. But what kind of advice would you give if you can? How can people discern, protect themselves?
So I have a specific way of doing it. So I've been taught how to put someone's energy. So I can, like, if you ask me any, you know, will you check someone? But it's been part of my training from spirit to do that for a specific reason. Again, with no judgment. But my advice to people would be, like, everything is within. All the answers are within. You just have to learn to trust yourself. And that's what I try to teach people, is how to connect to their higher selves and trust themselves. But if you just close your eyes and you come to a place of neutrality and stillness, like you just focus on your heartbeat, or you just focus on your heart, or a color light or something like that, and you ask to be completely neutral, and if you can move into that state of complete neutrality, and then you just ask the question, is this person of the light? And you get the immediate answer should be a yes or a no, and you could maybe ask a bit further along around that. Or you could work with like body testing. Some people work with like kinesiology, body testing. I mean, there's a few ways. Everyone will have their own little way of doing it, but really you can start building up that trust for yourself by asking questions like that you know the answers to. So when you're doing body testing, is my name Farrah? Oh yes, it's working. Is my name Bob? Oh no, it's not working. You know what I mean? So people work with pendulums, and I don't like using objects outside of yourself. Like, I think cards and crystals and all these things are great tools to assist us in our own energy field, but mostly not relying on an outside object, because I do believe all of the goodness is if you go within, and it's all there inside. AJ, maybe you can share your tips and tricks for that.
Yeah, well, mine's very similar, but I've kind of built that as a result of my own experience. You know, so I've had experiences recently where like people tend to try and play off your ego and your abilities to create something that in essence might not have been, you know, in retrospect very good. And when that can kind of come to light, I obviously then switch my mindset on how I protect myself more, and I do so by exactly that, like going within and asking my own, like, you know, star family, like who I know heavily protect me, to keep watching my six, basically. And that's basically what I do. And as a result of that, everything's been a lot more solid, a lot more fluid.
You frozen? Or was it my
Oh,
side?
I'm frozen. Hello, I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, so that you get just be very mindful of what's being presented to you, and if it doesn't feel right, there's a reason.
Yeah, and I also think we need to learn to listen more with our heart. Sometimes somebody is saying all the right things, but when you look at their eyes with the windows of, and oops, we lost Farrah. Hopefully she'll pop back in. But when you listen, when you say eyes are the windows to the soul. So when you look at someone, when they're saying all the right words, does it come from their soul, or is that kind of a bit of a deadness almost to the eyes? And I believe your heart will tell you. Your heart will be able to discern if it's coming from the heart or it's coming just from a recited script that doesn't really feel authentic.
Yeah, and if someone tends to try and cover the eyes often, it's obviously a good sign, a reason why.
Yeah, you can kind of see if there's life behind the eyes or in the eyes, if there's a spark in the eyes, or it's just kind of a deadness to it. So that for me is something that I had to also learn myself, because we can all get swept up in all this information. We're so excited about all this new information that's coming onto the planet, but is it really coming from the right place? It's all the right words, but does it have the right heart behind it? If not, move along. I think all of us has dropped today from this call. It was first, I think it was me, and then it was AJ, then it was Farrah. So literally somebody or something is not liking this conversation.
Hello.
We can hear you.
I am going to have to make a move shortly, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
We can just start wrapping up. Guys, it's been so...
I dropped on my phone, so I don't know if it's working.
Yeah, it's freezing a little, but it's been such a wonderful conversation.
Like the dark forces are flapping between South Africa and the UK, just trying to squash all the connection.
They're just flapping those dark bat wings.
It's always like that. It's always like that.
Hey?
Yeah.
It's always like that. I'll be like in the middle of like the most important thing in a client session, and then the line, and I'm just like, oh, come on, guys, really? Do you think it's going to put me off? Like, I'm just going to phone back 100 times.
Nothing can stop what's coming. And where we go on, we go all. So united we stand.
Absolutely.
So thank you, guys. I just want to encourage everyone to support AJ. MrAJRoberts.com. Ooh, Farrah's like, there's a bit of a lag in connection. And I will link all AJ's links in the description, and also Farrah's amazing intuitive medium. And please check out her website, farrahweir.com, and her channel. Give her a follow. She only recently stepped out onto the stage of the public, so to speak. So give her channel a follow. She does amazing work. So hopefully we can do another session. Just want to quickly mention, I think we're all doing sort of group or mass meditations on the 22nd of October. So check out AJ. I believe you're doing one as well.
Yes, I'm doing one physically at my friend's house.
Okay.
Yeah, with a group of lovely people. So it's another thing I need to organise this week.
Yeah, and then Farrah and I have decided to do an in-person one as well here in Hout Bay at our little wellness sanctuary. So anyone that is in Cape Town or in Hout Bay that wants to join in person, I think this will be a very important day to raise the frequency and send love into the atmosphere. Collectively, we have so much power if we put our positive power and intentions together. So
yeah, Yeah, and do you know what, you say that, and that South Africa, Cape Town is one place I really want to come and do a talk at some point, for that exact reason, to raise the frequency. And South Africa, I did a meditation and like the top 5 places I want to speak at in the world, and South Africa is one of them. So yeah, you know, I'd love to get over there at some point and lift the roof off.
Maybe we must create a retreat. And I've always had a vision of doing a retreat on a game farm where we're doing mass meditations, we're healing Gaia, we're doing our own individual healing sessions with someone like me. Then we have Diane, the astrologer. We have Anina's husband doing Qigong, like AJ doing his thing. And I know Mark Atwood also really would love to come out to South Africa. So maybe there's something to be created between Mark, AJ, Anina, and myself.
Yeah,
sounds good. Let's make it happen.
Love.
Cool. Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate it. And it was good to have you both. And until the next one.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Lots of love, guys.
Lots of love, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
So if you guys do want to join in person in Cape Town, if you are in the city or surrounds, the group meditation on Sunday, the 22nd of October from 2 p.m. onwards, send us an email at live@vividearth.org and we'll share more details. Otherwise, if we do go online, we will let you know if there will be some sort of live online. I'm trying to figure out how we can do that. But yeah, if not, then use that day to really meditate on Earth, Mother Gaia, raising the frequency. It's very important that we collectively come together and spread our positive energy in this very powerful way. So sending you all much love, and we'll chat soon.